I just wanted to do a video to tell you about the kind of where I'm going next with my planners. So as you probably know, I'm currently doing the One Book July challenge, which was going well until I decided to change my future planning setup after the challenge is over. So basically I went to this small book, which was fine, but definitely the focus in this book is more on bullet journaling rather than planning. I am very good at being reactive, i.e. something happens or I think of something that is kind of a result of something else. I write it down and then I plan for that, rather than being proactive, which is taking something that hasn't started yet and kicking it into action, or doing something that is from your own brain and doing it rather than somebody else telling you what to do, that kind of thing. So I realised that in here the focus, well, I've got a bullet journal which has also got a weekly planner in. I did have a notebook and then I had a slim planning section in it and then another section which is like for quotes and stuff. I changed that because I realised that the focus of my planner should be planning. I know that sounds like it goes without saying, but since I've switched to Midori Traveller's notebooks and Fodori's, I've tried to make that the focus of my planners, but it just hasn't really been. I'm just going to adjust the laptop, the webcam. That hasn't really been the focus, and I think that's because of just the general kind of format, the sort of setup that you can achieve with a book that has these bound notebooks in it. So I've realised with this July challenge that I not only need to have more of a focus on planning, but I also need more flexibility with the system and less reactive and more proactive. And also what I decided when I did a video last week, that I need a separate notebook. So that's basically what this is about. I'm just going to shift, I'm just going to sit on the bed. It's quite uncomfortable to kneel on the floor. You can probably see my eaves decorations up there. They're actually Christmas decorations. And Steve, the Filofaxy King, noticed that in one of my videos. And they're not meant to, well, they're designed to be Christmas decorations, but my mum put them up there years ago and I love them, so they're staying up there and they're all year round decorations. Okay, anyway, so planning, that has to be the focus. And my planning section used to just be loads of random lists, but it's now what I call my current section, which is like a waiting for list, someday maybe list, currently on my mind, keep in mind, current projects, shopping list, that kind of thing. So it's current stuff, and then also other stuff, like if I'm planning a trip, if I've got a project broken down into steps, you know, just lists of things that I just, you know, just things that enable me to organise my life. That was my organisation section. In my Filofax, that was the main section besides the diary, which is the calendar section, not like a Dear Diary diary. I always have to make that distinction because it seems like in the UK, diary means like a weekly calendar. In America, it means journal, Dear Diary thing. So I always make that distinction. So I didn't realise it until today, but since I switched to Midori Traveller's Notebook style planner, I think it was last February, I have not really had a proper organisation system because it's just not designed to be as flexible as I need it to be for an organisation section to work for me properly. This is my beautiful Midori made by Monique. So basically, if you don't know what a Midori Traveller's Notebook is, it's made of individual books. So this is a little bit of a fatter book than normal, but it's made of individual books, and you put them in under the elastics, and you can fit 1, 2, 3, even more books in there. But the thing is, these are bound books, and that means that they aren't as flexible as a Filofax, which is fine if you don't actually need the flexibility, but I've come to realise that I've never established a proper organisation planning section in my planner in a Midori or Fodori. I need the ability to move pages, add pages, take them away, replace them when they become scratched through once I've finished enough stuff on the list. And I've never been able to fully establish a whole notebook with everything I need in it. I think because that sort of section can change so quickly. You can finish a project and you never need that list again, or you can suddenly need a new list. And I can have 30 pages on the go at once in my organisation section, and that's quite a big chunk of a thin notebook. And then you think, well, once I've used up those pages, I've only got 30 more pages left in the notebook, but I'm still going to have those 30 that are now redundant still sitting in there. I know there's ways around it. There is a way that you can make these notebooks more flexible. You unbind them. So basically they're bound either with sewing, so like thread going through a couple of holes at the top, a couple of holes at the bottom, or 3 holes. So it's like signature bound with a thread looped around them to hold everything in place. Or they're staple bound. Now if you don't bind them, if you basically have the pages folded in half and then you let the elastic keep them in, then you can theoretically remove the pages. So like, I haven't got an unbound. Is this one unbound? Let me have a look. I think this one might be unbound. There we go. So, there, you can take a page out and put a page back in. But the trouble is, as you can see, taking this page out, you have not only taken this side out that you wanted to take out, but you have also taken this side out from under the elastic. If you've got something written on this side of the page that you want to keep, you've taken both out. It's that kind of thing. I need the flexibility of just taking one page out at a time. But I love my Midori. I love this thing. I love my Midoris and my Fodoris, and I never want to stop using them. But I know I need to go back to a ring binder. But you may say, but you stopped using Filofaxes. You had, I had ring problems. I had a lot of ring problems. I'd received Filofaxes through the post, and practically all of them had ring problems. And I'd hear so many stories on Facebook of people receiving brand new Filofaxes or pre-loved Filofaxes, and them having ring problems, and I'd go to the shops and the ones on the shelf would have ring problems, and I was just so sick of it, so I just stopped buying Filofaxes. I haven't bought one in at least 2 years. So I mean, this is beautiful. This is the Wine Personal Holborn, absolutely beautiful, and I had to actually file the rings down with a metal file because a couple of them were so misaligned, especially this one, that they would catch the paper really badly. So I actually filed it down. So what am I going to do? Am I going to go back to Filofaxes where I am paranoid that the rings will be really bad quality? No, I'm going to use a personal size binder, but it won't be Filofax. So I won't be using binders from a company that I don't think I can trust to produce a quality product for the value. I'm sure they're well-meaning and they work really hard and they try to produce quality binders, and I know the leather and stuff like that is really good. It's just the ring mechanisms. Filofax, it's not your problem, they're not your ring mechanisms, it's the company that produces them. They aren't high quality, but obviously it's not the company's fault because you're buying a product at the value that they're producing them for. I think it's the people within Filofax who, however long ago, I think it was about probably 5 years ago, they decided to stop using the good quality ring mechanisms and to start using cheaper ones which are worse quality. So there's a marked distinction between vintage Filofaxes and modern Filofaxes. Vintage ones from at least 10 years ago. I know some of you will be going, 10 years old ones aren't vintage, but I mean ones that aren't from the current sort of generation compared to modern ones from the 10 years ago and before, I mean, and more recently. The ring mechanisms more recently are just not good quality. So I am not going to be buying any more Filofaxes, which is the normal state of affairs for me now. Instead, I'm going to be buying a Spek. Spek is a leather company based in the Netherlands, which produces ring binders and other things too, but they use Krause rings, Krause, and they are excellent quality, and they are also replaceable. And replaceable so that they are easy to slide off and slide back on. I've not obviously tried it myself, but Ray, I think Steve has, I think he's got a video on YouTube showing how to replace them. I haven't watched it, so I'm not sure if it's a Spek video or a Gilio video, but anyway, there is a way to easily replace the ring mechanisms, which means that you can buy a new ring mechanism if something bad does happen. For example, if you drop it or if you put something heavy down on it and the ring mechanism breaks. So I am reassured by that if something bad does happen to my binder, it will be fixable. And also I love the fact that these Speks, the custom ones, are customizable, so you can choose the exterior leather colour, the interior leather colour, and there's different textures and things. You can choose the ring mechanism colour. You can also choose a 30mm ring mechanism for a personal sized binder. That is almost unheard of with modern binders now. Franklin Covey still does large ring mechanisms, but Filofax stopped making large ring mechanism personal size ones after the Cuban zipped. So it's really amazing that you get to actually be able to get one now. You can choose an additional pen loop, you can even get a leather flyleaf, and I think the price is very reasonable, and I don't mind spending that kind of money on a binder that I know is got quality and it shouldn't have a faulty ring mechanism, and that I am going to absolutely love and is unique and perfect for my use all throughout. When I've been using binders, I've gone, I love this one, but, so it's always been something like, I love it, but I wish it had a more or a less masculine leather. So for example, the Kendall, I absolutely love it. It's got 2 pen loops, but it's a very masculine brown colour. And the Chameleon, I love it, but it's only got 1 pen loop, and other things like that. The Malden I love, but it's only got 1 pen loop. So effectively taking the thing that I love from the Chameleon, which is the pink leather, the thing that I love from the Kendall, which is the 2 pen loops, and the thing that I love from the Malden, which is the beautiful quality leather. Incorporating all those 3 means that I should be able to have my perfect binder. It is going to be the pink ostrich on the outside, the viola full grain leather on the inside, and a 25mm ring mechanism. But I think if I want to buy another one in the future, because in the past I have really liked, I mean, even with my Midoris now, I switch between 2 of them all the time. I think I will want to buy another one, and I don't mind having 2. 2 is a good number. More than that, I don't want to be buying more, because the thing is with Spek is that they have so many choices, I won't be able to stop. I will buy 1 more. If I do buy one, I'll buy only 1 more, and that will possibly be the brown ostrich with the turquoise colour inside, which is turquoise. And that will be it. And that will hopefully have the 30mm rings, and that will be used for when I really need to stuff this thing full. So that is my project. This future kind of plan for my binders and things. But that will only be after this July challenge is finished, because as the Spek is customizable, it won't arrive for a few weeks, so that will be after the July challenge has finished. So I just want to do a quick overview of what they will be for. So imagine this is the Spek. It's not, it's a Holbein Filofax, but imagine it's the Spek, and this is my Midori. So the Spek will be for planning, and that is what I needed the Midoris or Fodoris to be, but it never fully achieved its purpose as a planner, because it's just not flexible enough. So the Spek will be for planning, and it will hold my life and hold everything I need on a daily basis and for longer term projects. The Fodori or Midori, whichever one I'm using, because I switch between the 2, it will be my journal notebook, commonplace book thing. So this is something that I told you about in my last video, where I need a separate notebook besides my planner, and I was going to use an A5 notebook, but I thought that's silly, because eventually I'm going to be transporting these notes from whichever notebook they're in, like maybe once a week, into my A5 Filofaxes, which are subject specific. It's silly for me to use an A5 notebook and then transfer that onto A5 paper. I might as well just tear the pages out of the notebook, which I wouldn't do, but I like the idea now of instead using my Midori. I will have 1 book as a commonplace book, another book as my weekly journal, and then the 3rd book as something else that I'm not quite sure, but I think it might be like an index of where everything is in my binders. So for example, sections within each binder, because I will not remember where things are supposed to go when I do transfer them. So commonplace book will have one spread, so one double page for each subject. So for example, crafting. So I'll write crafting at the top of the page, and then I will just write on this spread until it is absolutely full up. So I'm planning on filling every bit of spare space. Not having large gaps like I do in my A5 notebook, but like writing really small in like squares or columns, and just filling all the space and transferring those notes either as and when I need or at the end of every week into the relevant file of facts. And so it won't fill up very fast, which is good, but it will have all of the information I need in here, but it will then be able to be transferred appropriately into the specific binder, and it will be a really good use of my Midori. And also I will have my weekly journal. I don't like doing Dear Diary journals, and I'm not dedicated enough to do This Happened Today journal. I do a bullet journal in my little one, and I do plan on carrying on doing a bullet journal, but instead of being in a Fodori, it will be in a notebook, either like a Moleskine field note sized one or a custom sized one, and it will sort of sit in the pocket in my Spek, with the cover underneath, you know, the back cover, and so I can write in it while it's still in the pocket. So I will then, at the end of the week on a Sunday, take what I've written down in my bullet journal and summarise it all into my journal, my weekly journal in my Midori or Fodori. So I started doing that already, but I have to catch up on the last few weeks. So effectively, what happened when I was writing my bullet journal, but I'd skip a week because I'd just not have anything to write down, then like on the Sunday, I'd realise actually quite a lot did happen in that week that I would like to record. So I would just write interim there. I would write interim, and then that would mean what has happened in between me finishing writing my previous bullet journal entry and before I start writing next week's bullet journal. I would write what happened in between. So that was effectively a summary of about a week. If I'd skipped a week, that would be a summary of whatever happened that week. And I like that because I'm not dedicated enough to do This Happened Today every single day. But writing This Happened This Week, you do it in one go and it's easy, and it also means that instead of something that is incomplete, you writing about something that may not have finished happening yet, it may be something that has happened over 3 or 4 days. Writing it at the end of the week means that you can write those 3 or 4 days together, which makes it a lot more sort of finalised. You've got a really good paragraph on a subject instead of it being really bitty. So, and then I do big paragraphs on each subject, and I can look back in 10 years' time and think, oh, I remember doing that, and it's a really good way of recording your week. So that is the plan for the Midori or Fodori, and they're both going to come in my handbag together. And I don't think it's that much to carry because this is not very heavy, and I love my Fodoris, and I will absolutely love my Spek when I get it, and they will work really well together. And when I'm a bit bored of planning, then I can go and write in my journal, and when I need to actually be focused and on the ball and plan for the future and be proactive, I've got my dedicated planner, which is really what I need, with I've forgotten the word, infinite sections, so I can have as many sections in there as I want, whereas with the Midori you can't have as many sections as you can with the Filofax. It's got replaceable, removable pages, and it's gonna have good rings. It's got to have good rings, and it's gonna be the colours that I choose and the right pen loop configure, you know, how many pen loops I need, and the Spek custom ones have good pocket layout anyway, but you can also customize that, although I haven't in mine, and it's just going to hopefully be perfect. So it's going to mean that I can plan my life effectively, which I just feel like I haven't been for the past year, because I realise now that my Midori is just not capable of planning my life as intricately as I need it to be, because I'm inherently lazy, and if I don't plan my life really precisely, nothing gets done. I'm also going to be using the DIY fish inserts, which I bought the trial version for August, and I'm going to be using it with the Dodo pad. So there is the month, the week, the Dodo pad, and the weekly notes and chart, and that will be excellent. So I'm going to try all that for August, and if I love the DIY fish inserts for August, I'm going to buy the whole year, June to June inserts. So really excited about that. So thank you for watching, and I will show you my Spek when I get it, and I will show you my setup when I've set it up, and I will show you my Midori setup when I've done that one as well. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye!